Hi, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Hairball Unscripted. The purpose of this is to connect with the fans of Hairball and also people who just love music. We're going to talk about a variety of different things. I'm your host, Tommy Summers, and we are joined by Happy and
Hi.
Dave. We want you involved. We're going to be asking you to submit questions. We love hearing what you think and your opinions, so we're going to give you that opportunity as well. So please join us on this experimental thing that we're doing. It's kind of like a jazz exploration in front of a festival crowd. Fair?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things, not just hairball and not just music, but we're going to start out with some of the most common stuff that I know that you guys get asked. So the very first thing I want to talk about would be, how do you choose your set lists?
Well, I used to joke in the early days that it was a bottle of Yag and a dartboard. Um, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I'll tell you what some of those are. So we keep records of our sets so that when we come into a market, a town, an area, we take a look at what we played in that area the year before and try to throw in some things that we didn't do the year before, which is a double-edged sword because some people get ticked because they want to see all of that. And if there's anything that I think we've learned in this business is it's impossible to make everybody happy, and there's so much stuff for Hairball to do. It's a good problem to have because we could play for 6 hours, except we couldn't because we'd never be able to make it to the next town. We got to play in time, and there are curfews and stuff. So we try to mix it up for one. And then sometimes uh, with Hairball, it might be that a costume or a wig is being worked on. So we kind of shelf that character for a little bit because we're working on a different Prince look, or that wig is just whatever, or Dave's Gene Simmons wig caught fire and we need to build a new one. That can be a factor. Another thing that can be a factor with set lists is, we're a live rock and roll band, and we are still human beings, even though we seem like we're immortals. And uh, uh, and with that comes health. Sometimes Dave might have bronchitis. It's happened before. Uh, Somebody might be feeling weak, so it's like, oh, this one will be really hard for me to sing. So we divert to another direction with that if somebody's got an injury or a health thing. So I don't know. Those are the main things. I don't get too involved with it. A lot of times Billy tracks that and gets it going, and it's kind of a singer's game. The other thing is the factor of there's so much time to put into something that a Gene Simmons outfit is much more elaborate than a Kevin DuBrow costume or a Bret Michaels and a Prince costume. But I also feel like Hairball is partially a costume show. It's a presentation of the theatrical looks of these people that we do. And, we try to go for those bigger looks, but they take time. And sometimes you have to schedule a set so that there is enough time to get out of Dee Snider and be able to get into Alice Cooper in the amount of time that we just did Def Leppard and Van Halen. And is that enough time for Dave to get into those things? All
Incredibly
factors.
challenging, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that you guys actually look at your set list from the last time you were in a town, and I think it's great that you want to mix it up a little bit so that you're not really always giving the exact same show every time you come to a city.
Well,
But it's hard because you can't make everybody happy. And then there's always somebody that loses their mind and gets so upset because you guys didn't do this one tonight or that one. And um, you try to do as much as you can and keep it fresh, but one of those factors may be coming into play with it, and we can't do everything. And it's like, well, you might tick off somebody because we didn't do Prince, and then somebody else might lose their mind because you didn't do Queen, and this time you did Def Leppard instead of Whitesnake, or so on and so forth. So it's just it's it's hard. You do the best you can, and you try to have fun, because that's what Hairball is. And but people get very invested in it. We try to make everybody happy, mainly us. We try to make happy and feel like we enjoy what we're doing, which we do.
Well, okay,
But
so then Dave, then walk us through a little bit of that. Like, tell people or share with them the preparation that you have to go through. Let's say for Gene Simmons, how long does it take you to do what you're doing? And then talk about that difference between, okay, you're done with that, and you've got to move on to the next character. Tell people what's kind of going on backstage.
Well, it's hard for people to understand when you try to explain it to them what we do. So, like, before the show starts, generally we'll start with Kiss because those characters are so involved, with the costuming and the makeup and things of that nature. So we try to keep those at the forefront of the show, because it's just easier to present them and then get out of them and into the next character. Well, me, three of my main characters are makeup characters, and you had Gene going into Alice and then going into D. And all of those things are really, really, the costumes are involved, the makeup's involved. You got to wipe makeup off of one, get out of that costume, sit down, get that costume going, and then sit down in your chair and then start working with your makeup and then start doing this and take this wig off and put that on. And then the next thing you know, you're putting on a Joe Elliott wig when you got to go out for Alice Cooper because it's sitting right there because you just got all this stuff going on. But no, it's just you try to lay everything out appropriately because with a set list as it's situated. And if you have everything laid out, then you got a pretty good chance of success because it's all just sitting there. But
So
at the same time, you have no room for error. There's no like, I mean, once the show starts, they're not going to wait on you. You gotta be ready. So the band's out there fired up. The script is set. You got to have your shit together to do what we're going to do. And if you forget to put your ears in, or you forget your belt pack, or if you forget, anything, it can hamper you and put you in a very compromising position. So yeah.
okay, so then let's say showtime is at 9 p.m. What time are you sitting in the dressing room starting to apply your makeup? How long does it take to do?
Well, I like to sit there a couple hours before. I don't have to, but I like to, only because I'm not rushed at that point. You know what I'm saying? I can put that makeup together. I've timed myself in 27 minutes, which is pretty daggone good, and it looks
Yeah.
really good. And Happy's
Mhm.
seen me do it, and but that's not where I want to be. I want every point, everything on the face to look absolutely perfect and stellar. So when you're up there looking at the face, you're going, damn, he put a lot of time into that.
And I
So
think
I
that's a
care
good
about that.
point. Wait, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I want to make sure that people understand that's a really good point that you make, because there are people who come to the show that maybe put the paint on as well, and not to feel bad that it doesn't look as good as Dave's, because Dave's perfected it. But tell people how many hours. I mean, I watched you go through this process. How long did it really take you to fix all that?
Uh, when I first started, Happy will tell you, it was all sloped like this, and it was all jacked up and non-symmetrical. So it was a mess because you're doing it freehand, which I have so much respect for them for doing that. I mean, it's just amazing how they came up with the idea for that. So, but it took me 3 hours initially, and then it went down to 2.5, and then it graduated from there to 2 to 1.5, and then an hour, and then and I said, well, I'm going to time myself and see how quick I can do it. And I did it in like 27 minutes, and that was really, really cool. But again, it's practice makes perfect, right? So, and a lot of people ask the question, who does your makeup? And whenever I give them the answer that it's me, or Chris does his own, or
Yeah.
whoever does their own, they're shocked by that. They can't believe that we're able to do all of that and put on costumes and change. And because that's one of the biggest questions. How do you guys do that? Practice, and you just got to be ready. It's a moving train. You got to be ready to go.
Yeah, and I see it. You know, it's a very well timed situation. So for some of you too, because I see this, and I want to point some of these things out that I think are worth mentioning when you're talking about a show. The thing that you guys have to remember is when you come to a hairball show or any concert, you're going to their office. So when you can't get a chance to talk to them ahead of time, or they walk past you because you happen to have a pass, they're not ignoring you, and it's not purposely that way. They have things to do before the show starts. So it's always easier to have a conversation after the show is over because then all the chaos is done. And it doesn't matter if it's Dave putting on the makeup, it could be Michael as well, or Happy. Sorry. We've been friends since we were, what, 16? Something.
I go by both.
Yeah.
So
So, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to say Happy. So
yeah.
Happy also has stuff he's got to deal with before he's ready to go on stage, not only getting ready to go, but there's issues with the instruments and different things. And it seems like there's always a problem. Like there's always something that comes up last minute that needs to be dealt with that is going to involve somebody in the band helping to solve whatever that problem is. So please, people, be very patient. It's never intentional. You know, what's
That's kind of an interesting point too that I think about and sometimes feel guilt when you don't have all the time in the world. And there's a lot of factors that even go into the amount of time that we can spend. I always put the top priority as the show. You paid to come see the show. So my efforts and focus are on making the conditions so that the lighting is good, that we get the sound check, that as much of whether it's the pyro or whatever it is, that the aspects of the show are going to be executed. And sometimes uh, crew guys will be sick. It's very common that I'm the guy that loaded the pyro that you saw go off. And it gets to be surprisingly a busy day that, you know, you get up, you have your breakfast, the crew's already started working and they're in setting up the wardrobe and what the day goes like. But it surprisingly is a very full day. And then of course we love to, and almost always jump in the pit and take pictures and hand out sets, and you know, people ask for pics, and it's great to have those moments. But at the same time, behind us there's a crew that's packing up because we might have played in Indiana and we need to make it to Alabama, which is going to be next week. And they might be 10, 12-hour drives, and you're on a deadline to try and make it there. So while it's great to talk, and I wish I could take everybody to Denny's after the show and
Damn it.
everything, sometimes if we don't get our costumes off, get our boots in the wardrobe cases and things packed up, those are the very first things that are in the truck, at the nose of the truck. And it slows the crew down and we can't get to where we need to go. And those guys, and there's curfews at venues too. And there are labor charges, and we pay for, there's all the expense of labor going into a show. So if you've got, we always have stagehands local that help push the cases because there's an incredible amount of gear that goes into a hairball show. And these people are on the clock, and the venue and everybody at the venue is on the clock. So you try to balance it with trying to get around, and you take that time to connect with fans after the show, but then also realizing it's like, we got about 15, 20 minutes. And if those wardrobe cases aren't packed up, I'm going to have a crabby crew. I'm going to have an upset venue because labor costs were incredible because it took us longer to tear down times everybody that's working at that venue. And sometimes I feel guilty that I don't have all the time in the world, but these are just the facts of business. And and to me, I think the best way that we honor fans even more than trying to get that personal time with them, it's more important that I give them a show that they paid to come and see. That's first. And then we take as much time and thoroughly enjoy getting to talk rock and roll with our people, which I think this platform also gives us a chance to sort of engage and talk about that. So,
Well, yeah, and I think that these are all really important points because I'd say of all of the band members, you two, at least from my perspective of watching it happen, try to spend more time or end up spending more time after the show out front, but you also have a time limit. And it's also probably an eye opener for some of the people listening or watching right now to realize that, okay, you don't just show up, plug in your guitar and play. You guys are working all day long doing other stuff to set up for the show. It's all hands on deck.
it
Yeah.
is, and it can go the other way. Sometimes maybe the guy that seems like he's the nicest, that's got all the time in the world for the fans and stuff like that, is because he maybe doesn't have the involvement or what's going on because I know how to load pyro. And
Mhm.
I kind of started with that stuff. So if something that happens where that's short, Happy's got to take care of it. Or if there's a settlement and other people have just different responsibilities. So the show's done, uh, it's done, or they don't. It's kind of here nor there, but there's just all these different factors, and each one of us have different things. I certainly don't have the extensive costume considerations that the lead singers have.
Right.
Um, and that obviously is a big part of the production. So we do the best we can, and then try to give ourselves a break. And when sometimes people get upset because we didn't give them the time, or we couldn't go party or hang out after the show, or we didn't play something in the set, you want to discuss it and you want to make peace. But I we always just try to feel good about what we're doing and be grateful for the people that are actually really there, that had a good time. That's the magic spot, and that's where we like to spend our time.
Well, that's part of
Um,
why we're doing this is so that you fans and listeners will have a voice to share how you feel about different things. And that's why we're going to do comment sections and stuff. So please be patient with us as we evolve this thing because we really don't know where we're going to go. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know how many we're going to do. We don't know. So obviously, the more engagement you give us, the more reason there is for us to do this. Dave, so because you're not the new guy, but you've been with the group now for 3 years, is it? Is that right?
So I'm going into my fifth summer this year.
Yeah. Oh my God, Jesus, time goes fast. So
Yeah.
take me back to you being an outsider when they approached you because they were looking for a singer. What was your perspective? Because you've been in the music business for a very long time. I know that you were bass player for Billy Ray Cyrus. You've been in a lot of different bands. You've toured, all that. What was your first kind of impression, or what was it about this situation that intrigued you?
Uh, Whenever I first saw them, I was in Thunderstruck, which was the AC/DC tribute band that they pulled me out of. I remember seeing them and witnessing their. I think I've told Happy this before, but seeing their bus and their semi, and I was like, how in the hell are they doing that? How are they doing that? They're a cover band. How is this happening? How is this happening? So I made it a point, my mission, to chase them and just catch them in that way, which not realizing, I wasn't on the inside, not realizing I was a good 10 years behind them on anything of catching them. And then they'd be another 10 years ahead of me because that's how this outfit works. Um, but I was shocked and amazed by what they did and just truly inspired by it because they showed that a cover band can be more than a cover band, that it can be a Broadway production, that it can be this whole over the top experience. And I was inspired by it. If you're not inspired by your competitors that are better than you, then you're not doing it right. You're not paying attention to the, you're not being inspired to become better. And they definitely inspired me to come better. And while I was chasing them, they caught me. So who would have thought, you know? But and I'm thankful for that. So my first impression was to be impressed, you know, because I was like, holy crap, they're the real deal. And then you get on the inner workings of it, and that you see that it's every day, it's all day, it's every day, everything's something hairball every day. And my mission went from being that way with Thunderstruck to being a good soldier for Happy, for Michael, for Chainsaw, and just being like what he said. You know, you want to be a guy that is a can-do guy and be a part of the team. So the way I like to explain to people what Hairball is, if you're looking at the band from a whole, it's a group of alpha males who follow a group of alpha males who know where they are, who know who they are, who know what their position is. And they're like a tool with inside of a chest. And man, they've got a pretty incredible drawer to pull from. So it's very impressive. That's all I can say.
Well, how's it different then for you? And granted, I know the genres of music are different, but it's still touring is touring. How is it different for you in this situation versus being on the road with, say, Billy Cyrus?
Um, uh, Billy, Billy was country music is different, but I've said this a million times. This band, as rock and roll as it is as close to a country touring act as any I've ever seen, because it's family. It's a different kind of thing. Like if you get out and rock and roll is different. It's just attitude, you know, the whole thing. But country music's all about the fans. Country music's all about the group. Country music's all about the music. Country music's all about the show. That's Hairball. So Hairball
Yeah.
is very much cut from that cloth of fans, music, production, fans first, you know, and making sure that all your bases are covered in that, and making sure you never turn your back on that. It's always got to be about the fans. It's always got to be about the music. It's always got to be about the show. And Hairball does it, in my opinion, better than anybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a lot of part of, I think, the issue for me with a lot of the other acts is they all want to be you. Let's face it, you know, everyone wants to be Hairball. We're going to be the next Hairball. We're going to be better than Hairball, on and on and on. But what they don't see is they don't see the work and dedication that goes into this every
day.
day.
Every day.
Mm-hmm. And
every day.
And since this is our very first episode, this comment you just made makes me think of a question I want to ask Happy. Taking you all the way back. Okay, so this is pre-Hairball. How did that start? Because I think your answer is going to be surprising to some people.
Well, Hairball started for me. I was playing in Fozzy in Atlanta, and I really, while there's some great people and some great experiences, I wasn't really happy. We weren't playing that many shows. I kind of felt like I was in a cover band anyways, because other people were writing the music and I was just kind of doing these parts, and I was trying to fit in with a kind of look at what was going on. And I kind of ended up adopting a little boy, and Minnesota was a much better family environment, in my opinion, that Atlanta was. And you know, Hairball was working steady, and I'd been put that offer, and it was like, okay, well, this is a way I could make money, and I could put this boy in an environment, in a situation that was going to be better for families. Because if you get away from Minnesota, you realize how many lakes and how many parks and how geared up it is for families. And I thought I was going to just wear a wig, use a different name, take my money, slip out the back door. Well, as we got playing, the wig drove me crazy. It was itchy. People remembered me as happy for what I had done back here, and they wanted to see it again. And I was always wearing what you very similar to what you see on my hairball stuff. It was always big, silly boots, and I was always knee pads, and I was always very physical. So the if I didn't wear knee pads and I do those somersaults and stay and whatever, I'd be limping the whole next day or two before I discovered how those helped. And um, I eventually lost my attitude about it and thought, I'm playing guitar, I'm dressing like, whether it makes sense or not, it just feels good to me. Like this is my alter ego identity. And the purpose started unfolding over time where it became the greatest gig that I've ever had in my life. That I felt kind of an honor, like a responsibility to keep Freddie Mercury's image alive, to uh, keep us remembering when Steve Perry was in Journey, to really show how important Alice Cooper is, because for a lot of young people, Hairball is their very first concert.
Yeah.
And the reason it's their first concert is because their mom or dad or their grandparents brought it to them, because the bands that we portray were their first concerts. And they're getting that uh, deja vu of being young, maybe in those concerts. And it warms my heart when I see them next to their kids and we're together and enjoying that became such a great way to make a living, and it just kept growing. And when we put Chris in the band, you talk about all the variables of sets and things like that, and you just don't know, because there's more than just singing. There's getting in and out of those costumes. There's the mannerisms of doing anything. And he just turned out to be incredible at it. And we just kept adding from there and increasing. I was doing the show stuff first for me. We said at the beginning of all of this, it's like I try to make myself happy first. And I think every artist should do that, because an audience can pick up if somebody is not happy with what they're doing and you've got a dishonest smile on your face. I spent my life building rock shows, as you know, all the way back to Jet Screamer and
Mhm.
renting my own armory
And
halls and
everything,
putting on
everything.
shows. Everything from building homemade lights to homemade pyro to making all of the stage costumes, which I still do, my belts and a lot of the things are, we make a lot of things ourselves. And I just always loved it. I loved the gear. I owned the gear. I cut grass. I shoveled driveways. I worked shitty cleaning jobs to buy the gear, because I just wanted to be a part of a rock show and be just like the people that I idolize. It just who doesn't want to be Paul Stanley or Eddie Van Halen, and be part of that circus. It's great, and I worked very hard and wanted to do that. And then Hairball became the vehicle for me to do that. And I could get my pyrotechnics, I could get the big, huge light shows, all the things that were me since high school. Uh, it's just better finance now, and I have insurance. And it's not just gunpowder in a coffee can, it's actual legal fireworks and stuff. And I'm more excited to see how the show is going to open and feel the fireworks go off than probably anybody in the audience is I am so fired up, because if I wasn't in Hairball, I'd be coming to see Hairball. because
Well, and
it's
you're
rock
not
show
exaggerating.
101.
Yeah, you're not exaggerating, and I can attest to this. Even back to being in high school, bigger, better, louder, faster, more lights, more pyro, more sound. That's your mantra. I want to address the elephant in the room, which many people don't even know there's an elephant, but there is inside of the music business because you're a tribute act or you're a cover band, call it whatever you want. But I would argue after watching all of these hairball shows and watching it uh, expand as time has gone on, that your fans are just as great and just as loyal and just as hardcore as any regular national touring act, which you guys are also a regular national touring act. What type of feedback or how do you feel about some of the people who still complain saying, well, because you don't write and record your own music, you're not real musicians versus suffering through, listening to someone's original that, 50 people are at the show. Tell me both of your points of view on that.
They're overthinking it. I was overthinking it when I first joined, how I talked about that because we were doing our own material in Atlanta, and I didn't think I could do covers anymore. Um, Nobody complains about Trans-Siberian Orchestra covering Christmas songs, or
Right.
you go see the Minnesota Chamber Orchestra. They're going to be covering all kinds of things. Hey, man, I'm a fan of original music. Everybody in the band has written, recorded records,
Yeah.
still continues to write music and stuff. That's fun. That's part of our heart and soul. Hairball was kind of created to just be this fantasy show. Sometimes I say it's where Van Halen and the Blue Man Group get in a car wreck and then they start a barbecue party. And that's kind of the line Hairball walks. Um, if you don't like it, you don't have to go. I love
Yeah.
original music. I buy records all the time. I'm always listening to stuff, and that's great. All the respect in the world for it. We do it too. We just don't flaunt it in Hairball. Maybe we'll record and do some stuff, but it would be just for fun with Hairball. If you come see Hairball, uh, expect to see recreations of a fantasy concert of some people that aren't with us anymore
The
and
best
some of
of
the
the lineup.
greatest music that everybody will know. And it's fun. And I also want to mention this with everything else we talked about of the work of what goes into this and sometimes I load pyro and sometimes somebody's got to unload the truck or something, this and that. These are the greatest things in my life and they are so much fun and it's hard to keep everybody happy, but it's truly a gift to be able to make a living doing this. And I enjoyed it ever since high school, and nothing has changed for me uh, since then. And it's just plain fun. And if you're bent out of shape because we're covering Kiss and we didn't write it, you don't have to come.
Yeah, you're
And
missing the
you're
point.
you're missing the point of what this is. We're not trying to get a record deal. We're not, I've been there, done that. I do what makes me happy, and Hairball makes me happy. And if it makes you happy,
You're
come
right
down and
along for
join
the
us
ride.
because we're selling smiles, and I love when we sell a good smile, and I look out at the front and you see all those faces smiling. There's no bigger motivator to get yourself to work harder, play harder, than when that show opens and you look out and you see the shock and awe in those faces. It's like, that's it. That's what that's what I work for. That's the biggest payoff right there are those faces.
Okay, so Dave, what's your perspective on all that?
Everything he just said, and the last thing that I'll just tag it with is, I'm not going to apologize, and we're not going to apologize for making people happy. You know, we're not going to apologize for taking people away from their problems for a couple hours. If you feel like that this isn't for you, that's fine. I wish you well. Don't come. But if you do come, I can guarantee you this: you're going to reluctantly have a good time.
Even if
It's
you
not
don't
a
want to.
choice. You have no choice. If you walk in the door, it goes back to what I've always said about, people used to make fun of me whenever they found out that I was going to play Achy Breaky Heart. And every musician that came into the show, when that song came on, they were sitting there clapping and singing the song because they had no choice, because they were having fun and they didn't even realize it. But like I said, if we're not going to apologize for having fun. It's why we're gone 200 days a year from our families. It's why we're like Happy said, we're selling smiles, and it makes us happy to look out and see people happy. So if you don't want to be happy, stay home.
Well, we could spend hours talking about all the people that you've come in contact with that are professional musicians in touring national bands that love you guys because they get what you're doing. It's not offensive. So really, it just seems to me that the group of the people that are still complaining is more out of jealousy. Now, I know you're not saying that, but I am. Because everyone would love to be in your position. I mean, think about it. If I was a touring musician and I was in a band and I was watching my numbers dwindle, and it's less and less and less. I'm still putting out music, and now no one's listening to it at all. And I've got to get up in front of a crowd of 100 people at the 7th Street entry. There's no fun there. And I don't think there's any fun lots of times for the people who are attending it, because I think the people that are attending it want to have more. They want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves, which is why I think so many people get so invested in this, at least from my perspective.
I
Yeah,
agree with that.
it just to me that's how it seems, and I, I just think that some people are so quick to kind of judge something that they know nothing about.
That's true, and yeah, I think art is subjective, of course, and you can find happiness where you can find it. If we're not your cup of tea, that's okay. But we choose to support everybody. Happy said it best. We look at original bands. We have original bands open for us. We have kid bands open for us. We have people who express themselves in different ways open for us, and we support bands that do original things, and we're proud of that. We try to help everybody, but at the end of the day, haters gonna hate. It's okay. We're our big shoulders, man.
And that's the way you have to look at it. You have to let that stuff roll off you because you can't allow it to affect you. I think sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, that some people get so hung up with what other people say on the internet that they pile on rather than walk away, because it's almost like it's become this thing to do now. And I just have noticed much more of a trend. But like when I see the posts on a lot of your pages, everyone seems so happy. Like your fans really, really love what you guys do, you know?
It's kind of amazing to me that we don't have more trolls. I mean, you always get a few of them, and the bigger you get, of course,
Oh yeah.
somebody sitting in their grandparents' basement can type and try and argue with somebody else who's actually doing something. Um, I think we're pretty fortunate that most people have constructive or nice things to say, but not all the time. Sometimes you can be flattered by it, but like at least they're really paying attention. They're invested. It's like this guy hates me. It's like well, that's better than being boring, I guess. At least he's really invested and he's got a strong opinion. So I'll respect that. It is difficult to not let it bother you. It's a certain kind of skill that I still wrestle with, because you want to engage when people just don't know all of the details, and there's a different side and a different thing, and somebody says like, well, you don't understand this, that, and the other thing, and it's like, well, I don't know, maybe that's just not always my place. But it's like the show first, whatever it is, the show first, and I gotta like the show. Dave's gotta like the show. Chris has gotta like the show, and the cool thing about it is the biggest payoff are the smiles. So I don't feel an obligation to force my music down somebody's throat or whatever. It's like we like to play for the people and with the people because it is fun. It is a lot of fun. I'm sure Kiss gets tired of playing rock and roll all night, but when that confetti goes and they play all of that and you just see the faces, it's got to be an incredible, every night. So I forget about those things that maybe I wouldn't listen to at home. It's like we're together, we're smiling, it's fun, and home run. And as much as we talk about the work and the things, it's like I would hate to give people the impression that we don't love the work. We
Love it.
love the work
Love
and
it.
feel grateful that we can do it.
And
So,
I think it's an important point to bring up along with the work is one of the things that I noticed is there's a lot of bands that will cover the same songs because it's what people want to hear in different venues. What Hairball, I think, has always been really good at is not only giving you the visual performance, but also even down to the intricacies of the voice of that person or their mannerisms, all of that sort of thing. And that is what keeps the song fresh. So, Dave, from your perspective, let's say you're going to create a character and you're going to do, let's use Alice Cooper as an example. Before you started doing Alice Cooper here with Hairball, how do you approach a new character? What do you do from a studying standpoint?
Well, it took me a few minutes whenever I first joined because this is such a specialized thing. I mean, it takes a second to understand what it is that you're doing because like I came from an AC/DC tribute. It wasn't a multiple tribute; it was an AC/DC tribute. So I remember one time I was sitting up front with Billy, and I used to always wear a hat where I would just put it over this hair and just like I did in Thunderstruck, and no big deal. And Billy said something to the effect of, "Why don't you wear the hat, with the wig on the back?" And I said, "Well, that's kind of, that's I'm not gonna." And he goes, "Well, that's what we do." And at that moment, it hit me that, oh, okay, this is pay attention to what you're doing. So that's when I started looking at like Alice Cooper, calmed him down a lot and just got more mean. Alice is just mean. He's not a nice guy,
Yeah, the
and
characters, and he doesn't mean him personally. He means the character
no,
of Alice Cooper, not
yeah,
the person.
the character Alice Cooper is not a nice guy, and he's not meant to be. And so you just kind of become not nice, and that's what I am when I'm out there. I mean, it is me. I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, but hard to wipe a smile off my face. But you got to go out there and be Alice. That's what people expect. So I would study his walk. I would study, the things that he did with his cane. I would study how he held his mic. I would study how he would contort his face at certain points of songs. I would try to hold my head the way that he would hold it. I would look down at people if they wanted, like, if they reached out to me, I would just look at them like with total disdain.
And
Like,
that's
how
what it
dare you
is.
try to shake my hand? No way would I ever touch you. Or if I go out there with a doll and I act like I'm going to hand it to them and they go to grab it, I pull it away from them and I yell at them, and say, "No, you're not getting my doll." And I throw the doll on the stage. And it's all about those mannerisms. And Gene's the same way, and Dee's the same way. And then you watch somebody like Chris, who is a freaking thespian. He's incredible, like, because he's got all
Really
these
is.
moves that he's been doing for years and years and years. So I had a lot of catching up to do. But you just really, really want to pay attention to their mannerisms because you want the person or the people that are coming to see the show, you want them to see it and remember it. Man, that's exactly what he does. That's exactly how he does it. It's not about me. It's about the person watching the character and becoming that character and make them, suspend disbelief for a few minutes. So Yeah, we pay very good attention to the mannerisms.
Well, and speaking of Chris, a great example of that would be for those of you that actually are really big Prince fans that know his catalog and have listened to his music for years and years and years. When you listen to Chris do Purple Rain, especially, you can hear the nuances of the way he even pronounces the
Yeah,
words in the song. It's
incredible.
literally that detailed. Or,
Mhm.
they all try to play it as close to the vest and as accurately as possible. And I think that's part of the draw for the band, is not,
It is.
you
It
know?
is, and when you see somebody that's a talent like Chris getting up there and doing what he does, I'm astounded, but I'm entertained by it. I love it because when he gets up there, he becomes that person. You watch him do Freddie Mercury, and it's like, my God, that's awesome, and he's inspiring to me. So, yeah, I mean, you just want to get up there and be as close as you possibly can to those characters, and it's not cheesy, and it's not taking the piss out of the character, and it's paying true tribute and meaning to the artist that was that performer. So if you can do that and deliver the goods, you've paid for their ticket.
That's a great point. And I think for a lot of the people who are fans of Hairball but have not gotten to see them this year yet, share with the fans a little bit of the things that you're working on moving forward, and then introduce Patrick. Tell us just a little bit about his story and where he came from and how you found him. Because I think a lot of people may not even know that you guys have a new member.
Dave, you tell them about Patrick. You spent more time with Patrick than me.
Oh, Patrick's great. He's from California. He's got an interesting backstory. If you get a chance, he's just been he's had a brilliant life, as it were. He's an interesting life. He could do a movie about his life. He uh he was raised in I think it's Santa Cruz, and it would be best to listen to his story from him, but I will tell you this: he has really overcame a lot of obstacles. Had very many interesting jobs. He was Lemmy Kilmister's bass tech um, for many years, and became really good friends with Lemmy. He worked closely with
Wow.
Ronnie James Dio. He studied voice. He lived with a biker gang. There's just so many layers to Patrick's onion. But more importantly, he's just an incredible singer, and a great guy. He's really fit in well, and we're thankful to have him. He's fun to talk to because he remembers stuff from his past and things that have happened to him. And like the other day, we were sitting in the front lounge, and he was telling all those stories about living with the biker gang, and how he got into that world, and it's just amazing. He's just, but like me. He has no problem saying this. He's been 19 years sober, uh, and he has such a zest and happiness for life and the second chance that he's been given, that he doesn't waste a second of it. And he's just so grateful for everything that he's got, and this band is just now a cherry on top for him, and we're very grateful to have him. He's a peach.
Well, and he seems to be fitting in really, really well.
Yeah.
we
I've only seen one show so far, but it was great.
we were kind of with things switching up and moving and wondering what we were going to do, but when we were looking, uh, it kind of slowed us down a little bit because we didn't know where we were going. And then once we kind of focused in with Patrick, I personally, I just liked a lot of the original music that he had done with his band Butterside, which he was,
Yeah.
uh, uh, the writing and the dynamics of his vocals and all of that. I just was a big fan of it, and when we met him, it just really seemed to fit, and his audition went well. But there again, now you go back and talk about all the things that you were just talking with Dave about, the mannerisms, the different, trying to sing like somebody else, and it's all not completely new to Patrick because he's done some stuff, but there's no gig like Hairball, you know, where you have multiple artists that you're trying to portray, and we're kind of still finding what things are very fitting with Patrick. I can tell you, we just got off a call. I mean, with listing a lot of new things that we're working on, that some, that we've never done before, and trying to find the fit with the cast of characters that we have. And just like Dave said, it took him a minute to, um, figure out how to portray some of these people, and it's fun to just watch Patrick grow and do all that. I will say every time we get a new member, sometimes it's fun for me to watch somebody see how this machine works and react to it and be like, wow, are you kidding me? It's cover band and we're playing here. Like, this is we're not only playing here, but we're going to sell it out. It's like, are you kidding me? And it's so much fun that you can hardly wait for somebody else to feel the kind of joy that we're used to, and how well we're treated by fans. And
Yeah.
it's been fun to see that with Patrick, and it's going to lead to a lot of new things. And people are like, well, are you done playing Van Halen? It's like, just like they talk with the set list. It's like, no, all of it is being worked on right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get it.
And there's other things that maybe you wouldn't think we're going to do or you haven't seen us do. And
Well,
we're just
it's
kind of in a
important.
great spot where we're getting to work really hard and a lot of new things. And over the next few months, I feel like a lot of new things are going to unfold, and we're really about to hit our stride.
And I think it's a very important point that you're making is that, and I'm going to say this for you, the band is bigger than the components of the band. That's number one. And
Oh, without a doubt.
sometimes certain things come to an end. Members come, members go. It just is what it is. You can look at any band in the world practically. There's people who change. It doesn't mean that it's better or worse or this or that. It's different, but it doesn't mean it can't be great. I think the thing that people also need to understand is that no matter how professional any of you guys are, it still takes time to learn the solos. It still
Mhm.
takes time to develop the costume and the mannerisms and the sound and pick the songs and all of these things. So you can't just like go, okay, well, here, Patrick, throw on this blonde wig because you kind of look like David Lee Roth and just go out there and wing it. They're not going
Mhm.
to do that to you because they'll feel like they're cheating you out of your money for the best show they can possibly give you. So patience is a virtue. Sometimes it takes time to develop all of these things. So please understand when they're switching these things out, they're doing it for your benefit as much as anyone else's because I don't want to go and see a hairball that's like mediocre. I want to go see a hairball that's great. And just because we're friends isn't why I'm doing this or I go to these shows. My wife and I actually enjoy going to the shows. I never tire of what they do because it's done to perfection. So just from our standpoint, from the band standpoint, please just be patient with them. And they want your suggestions, and that's kind of why we're going to do this whole thing is we want to hear from you. They want to hear from their fans. They want to hear from you guys. They want to hear what you want them to do. They want you to ask questions, and we're going to have panels. We're going to have guests on. We should probably have Jericho come on and other people like that, although he loves Crazy Nights, so maybe that's enough that he shouldn't come on at all. We want to bring you guys.
What's wrong with him?
I think he's been hit in the head with a chair too many times.
Yeah.
But we're going to bring you guys great content, and we hope that you'll come along for the ride with us on this whole thing. So, one of the things I'd like to do before we finish up, because we've already been at it for well over an hour, what did you think of the first episode? What questions do you have for the band? It doesn't have to be for Happy and Dave. It can be for any of the members of the band. What do you want to know as a fan, as a listener? How can they improve? What can they do to make things even bigger and better for you as well? And what can they do to just continue to enhance your experience? One of the things I can say that you can do is if you truly want to have time with these guys, buy a VIP package. All right? It's very affordable. You'll get a chance to have a photo with the band. They'll sign some stuff for you, and you'll be able to actually talk to them because they've broken out that amount of time to spend with the fans. So then you don't have to walk away feeling disappointed if you don't get a chance to meet them after the show. And also, too, for those of you that do meet them after the show that come up to the front, please be kind. And I don't mean them. You can say anything you want to these guys. Be kind to the other folks who are waiting in line who would also love to just say hi. That's really important. Be aware.
Oh, and we promise you this. When we come down there, if you're down there, we will get to you. We
Mhm.
won't leave until you're happy. We won't. Happy's done it a million times. HBK's notorious for it. We won't leave until we've shook all your hands and signed anything you wanted signed, and we're happy to do. That's the least we can do. So we're happy to do that for you.
There you go. So, homework for you guys this week. We're only going to be on YouTube to start with. So, I think what we'll do is you can make comments on the Hairball YouTube, or excuse me, not Hairball YouTube, the Hairball Facebook page. But for starters, I think the bulk of the comments will be or should be on YouTube. So when they share the link to this video so you can watch it, please comment underneath the video because then everyone will know at least where it is. Because if we start getting people commenting on all these different platforms, it's going to be too hard to actually read what you have to say and respond. But we want you to be a part of this. We want you to see how this thing grows as we go, and we want your input. Any parting words, guys?
This has been a lot of fun. Sometimes well, I hope some fans, just like I was very curious to know what it was like behind the Van Halen scenes. Matter of fact, I snuck in and watched them set up every year through the 80s, watched all of it, hoping to hear a sound check. And I was always wanted to know the details behind the scene, you know. I hope people have found some of the things that go on, which would be interesting to them. And sometimes when people are upset or they don't understand why we do something, you know, it feels good. I like to explain myself in hopefully a healthy way, and you never know. From people's questions or ideas, we may find the next cool thing out there. You know, we're a band of the people, and we're fans just like the people that are fans of us. Well, we are fans of these bands and what this does. I'm a fan of everybody that I play with in this band and feel lucky to do that. So we're in it together. We call it the celebration of arena rock, and it's about more than us. It is a celebration of that arena, of the gathering. Hairball is a celebration of the gathering of rock and roll, and it is done best with that whole army out there screaming the choruses, getting hyped up, playing dress up, you know, getting loud together, you know, fist bumping, talking stories about our first Kiss concerts, you know. This is our lives. So uh, this has been a blast for me. Dave probably didn't like it, but I don't know. Let's see what he thinks.
He's still awake.
I like everything. What are you talking about? I like Mikey. I just want to tell all the fans thank you. We're grateful every day. We know we're fortunate, and that's never lost on us. We don't turn our back on that, and we're grateful. So hopefully that comes across when we play, and you see it whenever you get to talk with us, and we embrace this channel that's Tommy's helping us with. Thank you, Tommy, and we're 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 excited to talk to you, and this is a great way to do it. And yeah, just just stay engaged with us because we enjoy it. It's like Happy said, you never know when the next great idea is going to come from. And we're fans just like you are. And hey, man, what's the famous David Lee Roth line? How far have you come? About 10 feet from the front row to the stage. And that's the truth. We're those guys, and we're very thankful. So we can't wait to see you out there again this year. Summer's going to be hot, and it's going to be great. We're looking forward to it. So let's do it.
All right. Well, there you go, guys. So until next time, which I don't know when that will be, but it'll be soon. Stay tuned, and they will be updating you on their Hairball Facebook page. I'm sure Hairball Addicts will carry this as well. So we'll get the information out to you, but please engage. We want to hear what you have to say. So till next time, have a great week and take care of yourselves.